Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rush Hour. I'm Chris Rosa with my friend here, Truth, Michael Stewart. What's happening, Mike? How are you?
Everything's good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I mean, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. We're getting over another Giants loss, and we're trying to lick our wounds as we get closer to the end of this season. And tomorrow, wouldn't you know it, the Giants have another game, a short week on Thanksgiving, which is we'll go over some Thanksgiving memories and some Giant Thanksgiving history. But before we get into some numbers, Mike, how you feeling about tomorrow?
Uh, but the game itself,
Yeah, the
I
game.
think it's a game. I think it's a game that if you're a real true Giant fan, and I'm going to harp on this like I always do about uh, wanting to see the Giants lose to get a better draft pick. If you are a true Giant fan, you will not and should not be happy that Dallas beats us. At least let's beat Dallas. At least.
Mm-hmm.
How great would that be to go in there and beat them in Dallas, convincingly or dramatically, whatever. Um, you know, Dallas has, along with Philly, they've beaten us like we've been the little brother, tortured us, made fun of us. It would be nice to beat them. It really would.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I'm with you, man. I don't want to lose against Dallas on Thanksgiving as much as people, we cry about getting the draft picks. I just think it goes bigger, it goes larger than that.
It's beyond,
To,
yeah.
yeah, with Dallas plus Dable looking to save his job on his end, and we'll get into that, Mike. I know we talked about it on Monday about Dable, but Jones today, what happened going to the Vikings and getting picked up. So we're going to touch upon that as well. But I'm with you, Mike. Thanksgiving will taste a lot better with our dinner if the Giants could somehow beat the Cowboys. And Mike, before we get into some of the numbers, we'll just go over as people trickle in. Hope people are trickling in. We'll go over some injuries. So the big thing, the big item of concern is our left tackle Jermaine Illuminor, who's going to be out tomorrow with a quad. So you might be seeing Chris Hubbard step in at left tackle, which is scary.
Oh boy.
It looks like Evan Neal, who was banged up last week, he's going to play. So we'll have him at right tackle. But I think the left tackle is a concern, especially with Parsons at defensive line with the Cowboys. So injury wise, we'll just briefly go over it. Tomorrow, who's going to be out is our tackle Jermaine Illuminor. Aziz Ojulari went to injured reserve with the toe yesterday. Defensive lineman Armand Watts, who played last week, is out with the shoulder. Questionable is Deontay Banks with the rib, and DeVito didn't make the trip. He's got the forearm, so he won't be playing. Look for Tim Boyle to be elevated from the practice squad to number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
Drew Lock gets his first stop.
Drew Lock will get his first start, which will be interesting. And Joshua Miles got elevated from the practice squad to tackle. Greg Stroman, who played pretty decent against Pittsburgh, he's got elevated from the practice squad. The cornerback, so we might see him with some action. And Timon Fox, I believe that he had his third elevation already, so he's signed officially to the active roster. And that's about it. So that's what we're looking at injury-wise. But I think left tackle is a big concern, right, Mike? Without Illuminor there, we're going to go with Hubbard, who seems to get beat quite often.
Last game we played them where we had a really good chance of beating them. They had 8 sacks against us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I really think, without giving it away, of my top 3 ways to win or lose, I think that's going to be key for Dallas. They need to rush, pressure, and sack the QB.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Those are, and I know we're going to go over some of your keys, with that, Mike. Yeah. So what we're going to do tonight, everybody, instead of going over the numbers like we do every week, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant at this point to go so in depth in these numbers. We know the Giants are terrible against the run, giving up over 150 yards a game, which seems like 150 yards a game. Even that Giants haven't had a sack, I think, in the last,
2 games.
Is it 2 games? Yeah.
I think it's 2 games.
Wow. So 2 games, haven't had a sack. Pass rush is running on empty. But I know, Mike, you got some key points to the game. So you want to we'll just hit that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll just go over some individual players that should show up and be important players for each side that we should see. And start with the Giants. You mentioned Drew Lock will get his first start, and you know, some can argue that he should have been one starting ahead of Tommy DeVito, and some can go the other way. So for me, it didn't matter to me. I get it why DeVito was starting. But we'll see what Drew Lock can do. He's going to be going against a team in Dallas that does have issues, and we'll touch on that in a second. The Giants' biggest strength on offense right now is the running game, by far, with Tracy and Singletary combining for 913 yards right now, and with 6 touchdowns. Unfortunately for the young rookie Tracy, the last couple of weeks he's fumbled, and Coach Dable sat him down for the majority of the game last week. He opened up the game last week with a 16-yard run, looked good, and then he fumbled, and he only finished with 45 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
Like that.
Mike, let me ask you on that point. How concerned are you with Tracy with the fumbles the last few games? Is this becoming a little concern at this point or not yet?
No. I think that's something that could be taught. Look at Tiki Barber. As you well know, he had issues coming up as a rookie, and Tom Coughlin worked with him about getting it a little more tucked up in the arm up here when he ran. If you look at the fumble, I didn't see last week's fumble exactly. I think it's the same. They both fumbled the same way. He had his arm and the ball lower away from his body, and it was much easier to just reach in and poke it out. And he'll learn, I think. I'm not gonna crucify that kid, because he's really played well and beyond what anybody has thought of a 5th-round pick. For the Giants, he really has. He's had a good rookie year, very good rookie year.
Yeah, he's been a bright spot for sure.
Yeah,
and,
he has been.
Yeah, and ball security, that's something that obviously after the season, I'm sure, or going into training camp next year will be a point of concern, because as you go through training camp, you don't know what some of the problems or issues some of these guys have, but during the season you would think you're doing self scouting, and that's one of the things he'll probably need to work on. Going to training camp next year, and they'll work making sure they're trying to punch the ball out and working on them. I know in the past they even give them slippery footballs, and they'll do all kinds of things. So that'll be something he'll get clear.
And they will, Chris. He'll work on it. He'll get better. I have no doubt that we haven't seen the best of Tyron Tracy. He's going to get better. He'll learn from this.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned.
Hey, Jay's in the room. Jay, you're everywhere, man. I saw you last night on Insider. You're on all the shows, man. You are like part of all the shows. And I think you were on the other show too, the New York Revival. So, Jay, thanks for stopping in, man. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. But all right, Mike, I don't want to hold you up. Keep going.
That's okay. And of course, the leading receiver for the Giants is Neighbors, and he's got 671 yards, 67 receptions, 3 touchdowns. And real quick, what do you think about his comments after the game and what they talked about? The way they're using him.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk this up to a young guy like all these receivers. He wants the ball, and sometimes you say things that maybe you should keep in your head. But like it's been mentioned in some other places, that's the way he is, Neighbors. That was a concern maybe coming into the NFL, that he's going to speak his mind. He may say things that he probably shouldn't, but I appreciate the honesty. But I will say this, Mike. At a time when the Giants seem like they're not giving 100%, I like the fact that he said what he did, because I think everybody needs to take notice that there are players that aren't happy, and he's one of them. And I believe tomorrow a point will be made to get him the ball. Whether those balls are picked off or they're incomplete, I believe there's going to be a concerted effort on Locke to get him started early in the game. How about you? You feel the same way with Neighbors? Tomorrow is going to be a key point. As much as Tracy's going to be a point, the running game, I believe Neighbors to defeat him right away.
Yeah, and again, I'll touch on that a little bit down the road here in our podcast. But I agree. I think that's who he is, Neighbors. You can look at both ways. Maybe tone it down as a rookie, but you like that he's talking and he wants the ball. He wants to be the guy. And you like that. So We'll see what
And
happens.
Mike, one more thing. I'd rather hear that than, hey, I'm out there. I'm not getting any balls thrown to me. What else? What do I have to do? I'm tired of this. Like
Yeah,
he's venting to the fact that, hey, he wants to be a bigger part of things, but he's not really calling out anybody other than Dable, maybe because he didn't throw the quarterback under the bus. It sounded like more Dable, but there's frustration there, and he'd rather he cares. It affects him more losing than winning. If
yeah.
that's one of the points he had
I
said in
mean,
the past.
he's always been a winner back from high school to college. He's been a winner, and it's just tough. It's a tough transition for a lot of these young guys who come from winning programs in college, and they come to here, and in reality, in the NFL, it's hard. If you're that good, you're going to get drafted by a team that isn't very good. That's why they drafted you early in the draft.
Mhm.
So, look, it's a learning thing, and we'll see how he responds tomorrow. And I agree with you. I think we're going to see an effort made to get him the football.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Looking at the Giants' defensive side, which overall has been their best side of the ball, but they do have their weaknesses, as we'll touch on. The leading tackle is Bobby Okereke. He continues to lead them after the last 3-4 weeks with 83, followed by Newbin and then McFadden. And we got you talked about the Giants sacks has been stagnant for a couple of weeks, and that holds true for Lawrence. He hasn't had a sack in the last 3 games, so he's still at 9. And I can't fault him. I'm sure he's being double teamed, and it's hard for a 340-pound man to sustain that kind of production. Like he was doing. He was almost leading the league in sacks when Hutchinson got hurt. So you don't see many interior linemen lead the league in sacks.
And Mike, the interception thing is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're going into uh, week 12, and the Giants have one interception by Maso, I think was in game 1. I think you have to go back to 2017 with the Raiders, the last time a team's had only one interception this late in the season. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure if I chalk this up to Bowen, the zone, the scheme, or
it has
these
to
guys.
be a little bit of both,
It's a
Chris.
little bit of both. And
Has
the
to be.
and the funny part is, Mike, you always hear interceptions or turnovers come in bunches. Well, I guess when it finally happens, we're going to probably get like 20 turnovers. The Giants will get 20 turnovers
Yeah,
because, boy, this has been some drought, man.
that could be a fun little thing we have with the fans. How many interceptions will the Giants have in the final 7? In this season? Right now, they're 11 games. They have one.
Mike,
6
I'll take it
games.
a step further. Tomorrow, who do you think do you believe the Giants will get an interception?
Well, let's see. They go against Cooper Rush. It's possible. I
Who
can
do
see. I can see one where it's not a phenomenal play by our play. It's going to be probably a deflected ball.
Give me a name.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's have a little fun here. I'm going to go with the kid that's probably playing the best with them.
Hmm.
I'm going to go with Drew Phillip.
Drew Phillips in the slot. Okay.
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
go with
say
him.
I'm going to say a tipped ball at the line and Micah McFadden.
Oh boy.
That's a weird
Okay.
one, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
You're
Uh,
keeping the linebacker. Just stay
I
with
feel
one.
like a tip ball. Micah McFadden's played awfully well, and you know what? He'll get a tip somewhere up in the air, and he'll grab it. Jay, great point. You makes you wonder how bad we would have been last year without the big turnover
We talked
ratio.
about that last
Oh,
week, remember?
I can't get that number out of my brain, Jay. Plus 14, 1 or 2 in the NFL, and with a losing record. And
They
now
probably
the
would have been
Giants are
6.
-4, I think, and they're
Right. We probably would have
terrible.
won only 2 games last year if we didn't have all these turnovers last year. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right, Jay.
100%. Yep.
So then we look at the Giants. The second is Ojulari, who's now, like you mentioned, out for the year,
Mhm.
right? Or at least 4 games or something like that. There, he's out.
Yeah,
Um,
probably just shelf him, and you know what? Maybe that bodes well with the renegotiation of a new contract because he's a free agent. So maybe you get a little bit of a deal because he's not.
some teams may not want to go after him.
Yeah, he's coming off an injury. How much you want to pay him? Maybe Giants can compete with bringing him in.
Could be.
Yeah, on a
Um,
deal.
and he got, of course, Burns has 6 as well.
Hmm.
And tackles for loss was I always like to look at. Burns has now leapfrogged Lawrence. He has 10. So and Burns has been picking it up. over the last 5-6 games. So we'll see if that continues with
And
him.
Burns, even with Carolina, was always one of the league leaders in tackles for loss. He was always up at the top, so no surprise there.
Yeah. So when you look at the Cowboys offense, of course their best player is out with Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush, who's really, nothing to fear in my mind. He did beat the Giants last time he started against them, but I just think he's very doable and he could be beaten. But for the Giants to do that, we'll talk later about that. A lot has to happen. But he has about 813 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Leading rushers Rico Dowd.
Mm-hmm.
Pronounced that right? 488 yards. Okay, nothing spectacular. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb is their best wide receiver. And in the last meeting against the Giants, he only had 76 yards in the air, but you can't dismiss him. He's going to be a threat against the Giants secondary. You can't dismiss that with them. Defensively, they're led by 2 guys, and you have Eric Kendricks, 97 tackles, and Marvin Overshown, he has 75, and Overshown and Micah Parsons with 5 sacks apiece. And Overshown leads them with 8 tackles for loss, followed by Micah Parsons, who I think is going to have a great final. Whatever games there's left, I think he'll have a good, productive final 6-7 games for the Dallas Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Dallas on offense, they average about 14 points a game at home, and I believe they're giving up 20-something points at home. So, but you can throw that all out the window because the Giants when the Giants have stooped to the lowest point, worse than the up there with the 1970s. I think we talked. No, I talked to I think it was Joey Z, who's on a bunch of shows. The Giants are averaging 14.8, averaging 14.8 a game. Now this is 2024. It's worse than the 70s or early 80s because back then you were allowed to hit quarterbacks, you were allowed to grab, you were allowed to more than 5 yards to get in the face of your receiver. All the rules are geared towards the offense. So the score 14.8 in a game when everything is geared towards the offense with flags and everything else, it's amazing, Mike. You can't even compare it to then because it was an even game, offense, defense. Now everything's skewed to the offense, so it's even worse.
That's a good point.
14 points a game.
That's a good point.
Wow.
Yep.
In a league where it's been made to score points, and this is what's happening. Unreal, man.
Yeah, when I watched that game last week, I was very disappointed. I saw for me, I saw a lot of lack of effort on the Giants' part.
We all did.
It was just very frustrating, and I can only imagine you and Craig, who go to the game, sitting there, just watching that debacling, pathetic display. In my mind,
left at halftime, Mike. And I never used to do that. I left at halftime.
You did?
Yep.
Wow.
Left at halftime. It seems like when the Giants are down by 14 points, it might will be 14. Just double it. That's what it feels like.
That you're right. You're right. Absolutely. And we were being nice. I predicted they scored 13. You had 16 in your head. And he scored a feeble 7 points, which really didn't matter. Of course, it was late in the second half.
To a team that gives up like 27 each game. Yeah. Their defense is.
It was a pathetic show, in my mind. And my opinion.
Agreed.
And look, like you said, and we said, these guys are playing for either a contract or making a team next year.
Yeah.
So, right now, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead. My bad.
No, I'm just saying right now, you got a lot of open spots going to be available. A lot of changeover we're going to see in this roster. I know they got some talent. I agree with Shawnee, who's on the crew with us. They do have a lot of young guys who are talented. They do, and we need to be patient. But there are some guys there that we don't need to just keep bringing people in until throw the spaghetti against the wall until something sticks. With some of those positions, some of those backup roles. Some of them not working. You know, I don't know why Hubbard is still on this team. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know
that
why
just
the ball.
shows you how bad the situation is. And I would think, Mike, as the weeks go by, if Tyree Phillips is ready to go, then you might see Tyree Phillips take over
Well,
for
why
Hubbard.
isn't was he hurt? Was
Yeah,
he?
well, he had knee surgery and he's been in rehabbing, and the Giants just picked him up a few weeks ago because he got cleared. So he's not in any football shape. He hasn't had football activities. He's just
Hmm,
now, at practice. So, I can't expect him to be thrown in there, but I would think in a few weeks, if he progresses, you'll probably
torn
see him
quad.
at least coming off the bench. 20 quad. Good call, Jay. Was a quad. Okay.
So what?
So,
Let me ask something, Chris. Why bother claiming him if you know he's not going to be ready for a few games?
well, you know what? He's not going to be, I don't, he's on the practice squad, I believe.
But I guess he's down there for conditioning. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to be active at some point when he's up and ready. You know what I mean?
I
I
guess
would,
there wasn't anybody available. I
yeah.
guess.
Hey, Grandizer, hey man, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate that.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey, happy Thanksgiving to you. And you know what else? After the last game of the season, they always have futures deals. As you might know, Mike, basically all these guys that are on the practice squad, because that's done. All those guys that they want to give contracts and go into the 2025 season, they'll get a futures deal, meaning that as soon as the league year starts, they'll have that deal put into place. So that'll save like a Tyree Phillips at least to come to camp. So you'll see future deals being signed. That could be part of it too. Get him
Okay.
into get him on the team, work him up, and then the season's over. You sign a future deal to him and bring him in as depth for next season into camp. So I think that could be part of it too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
right. But what do you think of Drew Lock, Mike? What's your feeling on? What do you expect from him? How about that before we move on?
I expect nothing more than perhaps what DeVito. I mean, he showed me nothing in preseason, Drew Lock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I hate to be pessimistic about this. I just don't see anything more than what DeVito shows last week. Perhaps he'll maybe throw the ball 20 to 25 times, maybe have 14 completions, 170 yards passing, something like that. If he does better, great, then I'm wrong. But I don't see anything special from him. I don't.
100 and what? What did you say?
About 170 yards, like
170.
similar to DeVito, what he did, like 180 yards, whatever DeVito did.
You know what's interesting? What Jay said. Watch Drew Lock light it up. The fan base would be so confused. Typical Giant, right? Wouldn't expect it, and then he throws for 275, a few touchdowns. It would be
Yeah.
something because we kind of we kind of pushed him aside after he came in a couple plays and threw a couple incompletes, and I'm like, he's garbage. But you never know.
Anything's possible. You're
Yeah,
right.
I mean, Dallas is not good at home, and they do give up points at home. So for whatever reason, they're just total opposite from what they were last year. I mean, it is Thanksgiving, and I know we'll get into Thanksgiving memories, but wacky stuff always happens on Thanksgiving. Even the day after Thanksgiving last year with the Jets and the Dolphins, 107-yard Hail Mary that was returned for the touchdown. Weird stuff seems to happen at Thanksgiving. So who knows? Maybe and I know you're going to talk about it, Leon Lett. That's another one. Weird stuff happened. So, I mean, maybe tomorrow's one of these weird games where Drew Lock, nobody sees it coming, and he throws for 280 with a few touchdowns. And you're like, hey, maybe he's the future, which it won't be. But that's, you'll get crazy people saying that. But maybe would that be something?
That would be amazing. Like Drew Lock throws 3 touchdowns, 340 yards. He runs one in. I mean, that would be like
Mike, can you imagine the stir and the craziness? And this probably won't happen, everybody. But could you imagine the next 3 games he actually not say lights it up, but he plays good. 275. He throws a 300 in there, a couple touchdowns,
goes vertical, and he gets some bombs.
And now wait a minute, who is this guy? And then everything changes. Not that I expect that, but wouldn't that be really crazy if Drew Lock out of nowhere just showed you why he
would be loved by so many Giant fans.
A second-round pick. Yeah, he would. But I don't expect much like you, man. I'm just expecting a loss, let's be honest, but I don't expect much in terms of numbers or in the passing game. But maybe who knows? Maybe we'll be wrong.
Yeah, it's not like we weren't wrong before. You
Yeah.
know,
How many? All right, here we go. How many sacks do you think the Giants give up?
well, that's part of my keys to the game.
Oh,
So
then let's get right
let's
to
get
it,
into
Mike.
that. Here we
What a
go.
great segue.
Way to go, Chris. All right, let's start with Dallas. Let's start with Dallas. Okay, three keys for them, and I will jump on the first one. You just got the cat out of the bag.
Awesome.
Their defense. And originally I wrote down front seven, but you know what? Sometimes they'll come with corner blitz. They need to try to get close to what they did in game one when they had 8 sacks against the Giants, and they were coming in that game with only 10 total sacks. But it seems like every time you play the Giants, it's a wake-up game and for you. And
A get right game, right, Mike?
Yeah, get right game. Yeah. We saw it last week with Tampa. So I think that's key. Go after the quarterback, put pressure on Locke, make him make decisions, speed up the game on him. And I think you're going to see that, particularly, watch for Micah Parsons. You can't overlook him. I know he's had some nicks and bruises this season, but if he's anywhere healthy this week, you got to watch out. He can have at least 4 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
He can. I mean, I can see that. Well, the truth is ready to fire anyway.
We're going to get to that. We're going to touch upon the coaching situation, Jay, in
Yeah,
a
we'll
little
get
bit.
to that.
You're right. You're right on it, my man.
And number 2, I look at CeeDee Lamb. I think he needs to dominate more than what he did. He only had 76 yards against the Giants in game 1. Now, granted, he doesn't have the quarterback talent. Rush, you cannot compare Rush to Prescott, but I look for them, like we talked about. Malik Davis could get the ball a lot because he did do well against them last time they played. I can see that for CeeDee Lamb. I see them trying to get the ball to him, trying to isolate him one-on-ones with certain corners. We know who, Banks and perhaps whoever's Flock who's on the other side. So watch out for CeeDee Lamb. See if he becomes a factor, and I think that's big for them if he does. And last, the defense for Dallas, they need to limit the Giants' running game because you want Drew Lock to be the deciding factor if you're Dallas. Put the ball in his hands. I mean, you want him first start and see if he can lead the team in victory. I think that would help Dallas if they let Drew Lock decide the outcome of this game.
Yeah, and Mike, if they're out to stop the run, if the Giants' offensive line could hold up and Schmidt's up the middle, who had a terrible game last week, but if they could have any semblance of a play action, that would open up things down the field. But once again, you need to give that, have a little time to run the play action because they're going to really want to stop the run and say, hey, come on, Lock, beat us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that with play action. There's something, I'll go on the Giants side. For the Giants, it's all about the running game. They have to run the football, especially now they don't have, I'm not saying Jones was a star, but he's better than Locke and he's better than DeVito. No matter what any Giant fan may say, he's better than them. And they need to run the football. They have to. I said that last week. They need to get 100-plus yards, and they couldn't do that. They need to do that against a team who's nearly as worse as they are in defending the run, the Cowboys. So they got to run the football. Don't let Drew Lock be the one to win the game for you. Let the offensive line be the one to control the game and run the football. That's the Giants' thing. We talked about Neighbors, had a really good game against them, 112 yards. And like you said, I think they're going to find him again and look for him to make plays. But they've got to get somebody else. And I'm telling you, I think we might see the tight ends on the Giants, names be called. You're going to see because they're starting to get a little better, especially the rookie Johnson. He's starting to get some catches. We saw him get a seam pass touchdown a few weeks ago. And I like to see that happen again. I think they need to go to a tight end and not always expect Neighbors to be open.
Yep.
But I do agree. Neighbors.
And Mike, talking about the tight ends, and you're the college guy, Greg Dulcich was picked up yesterday. He was on waivers with Denver. Now, the fact that he was on waivers and he didn't clear, I believe the Giants picked him up on waivers, so he has to be added to the 53. you have the blocker Manhurts. You have Bellinger, who they haven't used hardly at all this year. And then you have Theo Johnson, who seems to be more involved in the offense. Two-part question. You're feeling on Dulcich coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the thinking behind him being picked up now when you have these three tight ends?
I think you look at Dulcich. Dulcich is he's like almost like a big wide receiver playing the tight end position. You know, he's not a blocker, but he can run routes. He's got good hands. I remember when we talked about him. He's out of UCLA, I believe, right?
Yes.
And we talked about him. He's a good runs a good block, like I said, runs good routes, has good hands. I think that's probably why they brought him up, or they brought him in, because he gives them that kind of stretch the field kind of tight end, better than what they have right now.
Mike, would you be shocked if he's active tomorrow? Just coming off. Now he's been practicing. He's in shape, but he doesn't know the playbook. I mean, would you be shocked if he's actually active for tomorrow's game?
So if they did that, who would be the tight end that would be sitting? Would it be Bellinger or Manhurst? Who would be the one sitting? You're not going to have four tight ends, you think? Would they?
No, I don't. Well, yeah, that's a good question. Would they carry four only because
have they ever done that? And even during their heyday, when they had Bears, Pascal, they had Dan Campbell. I don't even think they had four tight ends back then. That's when they had all that depth. I don't know. Could they?
Well, if you use Dulcich, well, he's not much of a blocker, so I guess he would almost be a tweener between a receiver and a tight end. So if you look at it that way.
Right, he'll be a slot guy. He ain't going to line up in line.
Yeah, and maybe he has a couple packages for him. But, yeah, I would be shocked if he's actually active. But that just tells you how least amount of faith they've lost in Bellinger, right? I mean, if you're going to activate Dulcich, that really says a lot to Bellinger to me.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, like I said, like we talk about, I'm not at the practices. And trust me, I know nothing like the coaches know. They know a heck of a lot more than all of us.
Right.
I just don't know what has he done that, you know, he had a pretty good promising rookie year.
Right.
I agree. What do you have? 5 touchdowns? About five
touchdowns.
I'm wrong.
600 yards, maybe.
Wrong. Yeah. And, you know, he showed a lot of guts, came back from his busted eye socket. And, you know, he could block. I don't know what he did or didn't do that just totally took him out of favor. He doesn't look like a kind of guy that would not hustle in practice.
Not at all.
Right. So I wish there was somebody, or maybe we can get somebody, Giants insider, we can get a guest and they can fill us in what they see if they watch practices, because I don't know what's going on with that one.
Yeah, it's almost like the concepts and the packages they want to run. You just don't see Bellinger much at all. And the Dulcich pickup was, I don't say shocking. Guy was on waivers. Once again, he could be a future, right? They could keep him, and then they're holding on to him, and then sign him to a deal at the end of the year, and they bring him in the camp. So maybe that's part of it too. It's a way to stash him on the roster for next year.
It could be, Chris. You could be right.
And maybe that says a lot about Bellinger. Bellinger's not coming back, and they're going to go with, another couple, Dulcich, and then maybe they bring somebody else in. I mean, I don't know, but it just, that came out of nowhere yesterday, which was strange.
It did.
But, yeah,
it did. I was shocked about it.
Yeah.
My last one is the Giants defense collectively. They must win the battle in the trenches. They really do. We talked about the Giants have not sacked in the last couple of games. I think that has to change. They got to try to get close to equal to what Dallas might do. I definitely see 4+ sacks from Dallas easily in this game, and I think the Giants need to match that, and make it a game, make it a low-scoring game, because it's going to be a low-scoring game anyway. Because the Giants, offensively, I don't think they're going to generate much offense. I really don't. I don't see it with Drew Lock. I don't see it. And
with Hubbard at left tackle,
right, with Hubbard at left tackle, it won't give Lock time to throw vertically, perhaps, and. That's why it's important to get the running game going for the Giants and just have more time possession on the clock and rely on your defense and kick field goals and, keep the ball in your hands.
Yeah, the scary part is, Mike, the scary part is you move Parsons all over the place. So even if
You're
you want
right.
to help out Hubbard, he's going to go on the other side with Neal. You want to help out Neal, unless you go 12 personnel with 2 tight ends with a Bellinger and a Manhurts. I don't even know if they want to do that. But that's like, he's going to have his choice on who to line up
Well,
with. You don't
well,
have
not
Andrew Thomas over there.
yeah, but not you don't need to do two. You don't need to do two tight ends at times. With
No,
even
I'm being sarcastic, but
oh
yeah. But Parsons will just pick his poison on whatever side he wants to
yeah, but
line up.
I would love to see that if they have Parsons lining up, let's say over Neal, and the tight ends on the other side, they should hopefully Drew Lock should audible and just have what's his name, the tight end go motion to that side to block if you have to.
Yeah.
Wherever Parsons ends, motion that side and block. Especially if you see he's dominating. Don't leave your tackle on an island against a guy like that. I mean,
And you do see when you run at Parsons, he does get washed out sometimes. I mean, he's big on sacks and he wants to get to the quarterback, makes open field plays. But when you run at him, he's definitely less effective. So I would like to see them run at him a little bit as well.
yeah, that's not his game. Obviously, he's not a edge setter. That's why I laugh when they called him the next Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, guys, if you didn't know, he was very good against the run too. I mean, he was set the edge as well. If you watched Lawrence Taylor, did everything. But anyway, in that game, so I don't see a high scoring game, Chris. If we're going to do, because I know we want to get moving.
Yep. Let's put a bow on it.
Yeah, I think this is a low scoring game. I really do. It could be like the same thing over and under, like 20-15 was the last score. You know what? I don't know if the Giants will score 15 points. I really don't. They may only score 10. Something around there. Dallas, I don't know if they'll score 20. It may end up being a 17-10 game or a 13-10 game. It's going to be a low scoring game. I think Dallas is going to win.
Yeah, I think so too. If I had to pick a score, I'm going to say 27-6.
Wow, you think Dallas will score 27 points with Cooper Rush?
Yeah. I think in the 20s. And my reason behind that, Truth, is that I feel like when the Giants get behind, they're going to give. I don't even want to say give up. I feel like the defense knows that the offense can't score, and they're human. They're just going to pull up, and they're not going to.
That's not good to hear.
I'll say 24-27, somewhere in that range.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 24-6, 27-6. And then the talk will be, does Dable survive the next week, which will segue us to we got 2 more things. We'll talk about the Dable and Shane situation for a couple of minutes, and then you want to do Jones first? Jones getting picked up by the.
Let's do Jones real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Give me your thoughts real quick on Jones being picked up by the Vikings. Surprise, not surprise, good fit.
No. He always said he wanted to go to a contender, and it kind of makes sense, Minnesota, because they saw firsthand how good Daniel Jones could be, because that's probably the best game he ever played in his life, was the playoff game against Minnesota.
Ironically, right? Isn't it?
Ironically, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings, does he see Jones as a backup short-term idea, or does he see possibility of him possibly being part of this team next year because of what he can do with his legs and his arm? I don't know. Maybe he thinks he can fix them. Maybe he thinks. I still believe Jones will be a starter one day in NFL. I really do. He kind of follows the same path as Donald. If you look at Donald's career, boy, did he have a horrible time with the Jets, and then he just stumbled. He went to San Francisco.
Well, Panthers first,
right?
And they were going through with Matt Rule. It was a whole change over there. It was a little bit of a disaster, and then he got stability with Frisco. His first team with stability,
right? So I think something like that path is going to be the same with Jones. Whether that's going to be with Minnesota, it may not be. He could move on and be with somebody else or a few more teams before he finds the right team, the right system that fits his style. So he doesn't have to play outside of his comfort zone. You know, I think any player likes to stay in their comfort zone. They'd be more productive. Now, what is this here? Donaldson leaves. Yeah, I mean, listen, there will be teams out there that will look at Donald as a possible starter, and Donald would be foolish not to entertain to see what other teams can offer him, right? Because he knows that J.J. McCarthy is their future. He knows.
That's right. And you're not going to waste J.J. McCarthy's second year if he's ready to go, because even if you pick up the fifth-year option, you're going to have 3 years left. So you don't want to waste those years under the rookie contract. Darnold goes out, maybe he gets $25 million, and that leaves the spot for Jones to be the backup, which is probably, if he's Jones willing to sign that and not go anywhere else. But that plays into the Vikings' hands with a better deal. Jones is on the practice squad. He's allowed 3 elevations. So that's interesting that he can get picked off by any team at any point. They have to add him to the active roster. But I think behind the scenes, O'Connell and Jones probably had a conversation where, I'm going to use your elevations. I'm going to bring you up at some point, but to do the roster
which is
juggling,
right?
Similar to what the Giants did with Landon Collins, maybe a roster juggling, for 3 elevations, and then they got to finally make a move and sign him to the roster. So
and let's not forget, J.J. McCarthy was having a good spring preseason before he got hurt.
That's correct.
He was doing a very good job. He looked very comfortable, very poised in playing in the NFL, even though it was preseason.
Yep, and the Vikings are carrying 3 quarterbacks. They got Nick Mullins and Brett Rippon. So I could see a guy like Brett Rippon being cut and then trying to clear waivers, putting him on the practice squad, and then getting Jones into the roster. So maybe that's what they're going to do.
And put up that last one by Jay. That's a good one, Jay. Good comparison. I think that's
Arnold will get it. Oh yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, approve it. Approve it. With another team, something. Yeah, I can see that.
Sure. And Jay, you're looking at teams like the Saints. You're looking at teams like the Browns, possibly. Giants. Although I don't think he'll come to the Giants because of the New York media. I think he's had enough. He doesn't want any part of this area.
I agree with that. But would the Browns want to keep go with Winston, or you think they'll forget him, look for somebody else, and draft a quarterback?
That's a good question. If I'm Jameis Winston, I wouldn't mind testing the market after what he's done. And I'll tell you what, I would not mind Jameis Winston at all. It seems he's fun. His head seems to be very level. You're going to get touchdowns, and with the right coach, whether it's Dable or somebody else, you could reel him in a bit with the interceptions.
He's not going to be. He's not going to be that much. He won't be that much. Well, what is he? We talked about that. 33 years old. 30. He won't be that much. All right, so let's have a little fun here, guys. Ready?
Oh yeah, let's do it, Mike. So we're gonna do Thanksgiving memories, right?
Thanksgiving memories. So I just have a few of them, 6 of them. And if Jay, if you have any you want to talk about, you write them in. But let me start with the New York Giants.
Yeah, all 3 of you that showed up tonight. I know you're all cooking turkey. You're all getting ready.
Going out, getting ready to go out.
You got better things to do. You're.
Our old guys are staying home tonight. Let's talk about the first one, and this is and every one I'm going to talk about is what I've seen live throughout my life, which shows how old I am.
And Mike, after you touch on every one, I'll make a comment. I'll jump in, and then maybe somebody else wants to jump in. How about that? All right, cool.
All right, so let's start with the Giants. 1982. It was the Giants against the Detroit Lions. And this is the game where LT, if you didn't know anything about Lawrence Taylor, if you were living on the moon or Mars, this is a game where he did not play the first half. All right. The Giants came second half, 6-0. They were losing. Lawrence Taylor started the second half and played. On the first Detroit Lions possession, he rushed and made Danielson throw the ball too soon, and Harry Carson intercepted. And from that, the Giants got a field goal. Now, keep in mind, the Giants were pathetic on offense then as well. Because who was their quarterback, Chris?
Scott Bruner.
So they were pathetic. So the next possession,
Mike, the running back. You remember the running back?
For the Giants?
Yes.
In 82?
Yep.
Was it Butch Wolfolk?
You got it. And I think he ran for like 87 yards.
Oh, and they drafted him 1. And guess who they drafted that year in the second round? Same year as Wolfolk.
Another running back?
Yeah. He's in the Ring of Honor for the Giants.
Oh, was that Joe Morris?
Yep.
out of
Joe
Michigan.
Morris
There we
was
go.
number 2, was second round pick following Wolfo.
Mike,
No.
trivia question. Where did, all right, here we go. Joe Morris's brother, what was his name?
I didn't know. I don't know. Joe
Jamie
Morris?
You might remember Jamie Morris, built very same, out of Syracuse.
Oh,
Jamie
okay.
Morris.
Same school. Went to the same school as Joe Morris.
Well, no, Joe Morris went to Michigan, right?
No.
Oh, so then,
Wolfo went to Michigan. Which
okay,
Wolfo went to Michigan?
and
Joe
Joe
Morris went
Morris,
to Syracuse.
he went to Syracuse. Okay, so I think Jamie Morris went to Michigan.
Okay.
I forgot where he ended up at, but very similar body
Yeah.
type.
Yeah, I forgot him. I don't
Yeah.
remember him.
So Joe
But
Morris.
anyway,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
anyway, next possession, LT again makes that one arm tackle, which might have been a ring, a collar,
Horse
around,
collar?
which would have been a penalty now.
Probably.
But yeah, but then the Giants get another field goal. Then he forced a fumble with a tackle on Billy Sims, made Sims fumble, and then of course we all remember late in the game, Detroit was on the 10-yard line, I believe, and the LT intercepted the ball on the 3-yard line, ran it without anybody catching him, 97 yards for the touchdown and for the win. That was for me. That was when the Giants really weren't a good team, and that was like, if you ever see a player dominate a game, that was it. Lawrence Taylor dominated that game.
And Mike, you always remember him sliding into the end zone.
Yep, and he had a bad knee. They said I think it was a
He
bad
said-
knee, right? That's why he didn't start the game.
Amazing.
Okay, so that's my first one. Number two.
And Mike, with the before you segue, let me just touch upon this. That's the last Thanksgiving game that the Giants has won was in 1982. Now there's been Thanksgiving games since then. So the last Thanksgiving game they had won in 92 with Jim Fossil. They got beaten up pretty bad by the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I don't know the score offhand. 2009 was the Broncos. That was the night game when they started doing the 8:00 Thanksgiving game.
Right.
They got beat there too. And then in 2017, I think we remember that was the night game on the road to Washington. I think they lost 20-10. So they lost there. And then obviously 2 years ago on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, Giants were leading in the first half, and then the Cowboys pulled away there in the second half. But since 82, the Giants have had 4 Thanksgiving games. Tomorrow will be the 5th. Their record is 7-6, and 3 ties on Thanksgiving.
Wow. Okay.
So interesting stuff there with the Giants. Seems like
I'm
we're starting to
surprised
get
they have a winning
every
record.
3. Go ahead.
I'm surprised they have a winning record. 7-6.
Me too. Those games must have been in the 50s somehow against Detroit or something. The 50s and 60s. I mean, yeah,
Shit.
really.
I would take that record right now. They finished 7-6 and 3.
I was shocked because they've lost the last 4, so I'm shocked. Yeah, right.
Okay, so let me go to another one. This is the one that's the oldest. This one I was just getting out of high school. I was in high school still, and O.J. Simpson ran for then. This was a record, 273 yards.
Wow.
2 touchdowns against the Detroit Lions, and get this, he averaged 9.4 yards a carry
in that game.
So, in the game, so it's not like he got the ball 30 times. He got the ball around 20. What is that? If that average, if it's 270 yards, so what is that? He got the ball around. How many times did he get the ball around? 27 times. Yeah, he did. He got the ball
back then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was. I remember that game. That was a big deal at the time when he did that. Another one I want to talk about was the one where Randy Moss had a phenomenal game against Dallas. He had 3 touchdowns.
Remember?
He only had 3 or 4 receptions, and he had 163 yards.
Well,
it's like, and that was a game where he stated, because the draft, the Dallas Cowboys bypassed him in the draft.
He always wanted payback. Oh, yeah.
Right, that bothered him, and he was very adamant about that. And he had mentioned that was like a payback, because that was in his mind.
Yeah, thank God. Oh, God, thank God they didn't get him.
Well,
thank God they missed.
I think the Giants bypassed him too, didn't he?
Yeah, because he had some off the field issues at Marshall, but he was pretty clean with the Vikings. No problems.
Well, you know what helped there? I don't want to get off subject here, but having Chris Carter as his mentor.
Great point. Great
You
point.
know, they
Yeah.
talked about that. It was a very, even he talked about how important that was.
Yeah, because Chris Carter went through a lot of demons himself when he was with the Eagles.
That's
So by the
right.
time he got to Vikings, his life was he was pretty straightened out.
Yep, that's right. Um,
Jake
Another one.
Reed. Oh, Jay, good point. Jake Reed. Hell of a receiver, Jake Reed.
Yeah, he was Jake Reed. Yep. Um, Another good one was Barry Sanders against the Chicago Bears when they destroyed the Bears 55-20. They had over 500 yards on offense. Detroit, Barry Sanders, you know, uh, phenomenal top 2, top 3 of all time. Had 167 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I think that was the game where he was running, zigzagging, and the corner was trying to figure out where he was, turning one way, and Sanders turned the other way. He was just a phenomenal running back. And that's the same year, which was 1997, that he rushed for over 2,000 yards. That was that year, which at the time, of course, I think that that was a record, right? NFL record.
NFL record.
Yeah, at the time, I think he beat
Dickerson.
Yeah, I think he beat Dickerson. I think that was later on. Wasn't it Charles that beat this record? His record, right?
Oh, Sean Charles with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
oh, maybe you might.
I believe so. So let me get check for me. I'm going off memory. So we got that one and that one, and I got to talk about this one because you brought it up. It's pretty funny. We talked about 2012. I got 2 more. Mark Sanchez. He'll forever be remembered in the Thanksgiving for, it's called the butt fumble, right? The butt fumble. When he actually ran into the back of his offensive guard and he fumbled the ball. And this was against, I think, the Patriots, right? Yeah, the Patriots.
That was.
It was a blowout game.
And I think the Patriots had a pick 6 in that game, too. I don't know if it was Bruce. It wasn't Brucey. It was somebody else. Ted Brucey, or somebody else had a pick 6.
Yeah, it was 49-14, so it was lacking. That was memorable, and of course, the Sanchez pick was a debacle for the Jets. And then the last one, you mentioned it early in the show, was 1993, and I can't remember how many times. I think maybe this is the only time I ever saw snow on Thanksgiving with the Dallas Cowboys.
In Dallas, which was very strange.
Dallas, right? Against Miami. Dallas was leading 13, and Miami was trying to go to kick a field goal, and it was blocked. And the ball kind of, instead of going backwards, it kind of went forward and scribbled, along the ground. And a lot of players, the Dallas players knew, don't touch that ball, it becomes a live ball. Well, not everybody knew that. Leon Lett didn't know that, and he tried to jump on the ball. Of course, didn't get it. Recovered by the Dolphins in the end zone, and they won the game. That was the one of the big. That was wasn't that the one of the? That was not the year they went to the Super Bowl, right? 93, Dallas.
I think they did. I think they did go to Super Bowl.
Okay, so I know they had 3 out of 4 years they won the Super Bowl. I think it was the era. 93, 94, 95, and 96 or something. That was the era. So that was one of the biggest ones right there in that game. So that's what I got. And I got another one if you want to hear it. This is an old one.
Yeah, Jay says here, do you guys remember the look on Jerry's face when the camera panned over the? I don't remember, but I could imagine. It would, if I saw it, it probably would bring it back, but I could just imagine the Jerry.
Can you imagine, Jay? Can you imagine Jerry in the locker room coming down screaming at the players? I can only imagine screaming at the players.
And believe me, he was 30 years. He softened up a bit 30 years ago. He was like George Steinbrenner. Now he's kind of softened up a bit.
And he's a former football player, so
yep.
He had fire in the oven back in those days.
Sure.
I want to do another one here. This is going back. This is the oldest one. I was still in high school. I was a little younger kid. This is 74 when the Cowboys played Washington Redskins, and they were getting beaten pretty convincingly, 16-13. And Roger Staubach got hurt. He got a concussion, and Luke Longley, is that his name? Let me think.
Yep.
No, was it Luke Longley? No, Clint Longley.
Clint Longley, right?
Clint Longley came in and threw 2 late touchdowns, and they beat Washington. And they weren't like they were like bombs. He threw vertical bombs to, I don't remember who the wide receivers were, but I can remember it was incredible. And one was late in the game, he did it. And they won 24-23.
And that was 74, right?
Yeah, 1974. Now he only lasted.
Drew Pearson was there at that point? Not yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pearson. They also had Johnson was there, the kid Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
His career didn't last long with them. 76, he got released because he ended up punching Roger Staubach in the face. He had a fight. So, I think that's a mistake when you punch a starting quarterback, especially a Roger Staubach. That's a bad move. But those are some of the memorable Thanksgiving Days games I remember.
That's a good one.
And I'm sure there's others I don't remember.
Yeah,
I know. Luke Longley's a basketball player, played for Chicago. I know. I know.
Some
a lot of different names.
That's some good memories. Well, maybe tomorrow the Giants will have a good memory in a dismal season, but we'll see. So, Mike, before we head out and we look at the Dable Shane situation, you weren't on Monday. Tomorrow, if it's a blowout, and I mean the Giants lose 31-3, 31-10, do you believe Dable survives the weekend?
Oh boy, that's usually
because you're talking 2 games in a row,
yes.
and a bunch, that they've given up
in less than a week. 2 blowouts.
2 blowouts, and in a season where it seems like it's trending in not getting no progress. It's going the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say that Mara isn't that type to do that because he is, because he did it with what's his name, Tom Coughlin. Back in the day, he got rid of him.
Well, that was the end of the season, but in the middle of the season, you got rid of McAdoo. McAdoo was middle of the season.
McAdoo, I meant. My apologies, McAdoo. So it's not like he hasn't done it, but they get blown out like they did against Tampa. How could you not consider that being a possibility?
No, Mike, the more I think about it, the embarrassment becomes a big factor on Thanksgiving Day. It's not like a regular day. It's a day where everybody's around the table. I would venture to say the ratings are very similar to the Super Bowl on Thanksgiving Day. Even if people aren't watching, the TV's on. And most people aren't at bars. A lot of people are hopefully at somebody's home or at your own. So all eyes are glued, or maybe not glued, but the TV's on. And that's just after you have the Giants giving up on Sunday, they dogged it. And then Mara watches Barkley run crazy Sunday night. And they give up tomorrow. I say give up, but they get their ass beat. Does the clouded judgment of Mara, where he can't take it anymore, just has to let Dable go, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. If it's a blowout,
okay.
If it's not a blowout and they lose normal, I'm saying like 24-14, something like that. It doesn't look bad. Then he's not going anywhere. But if it's really similar to what we saw on Sunday, I think there is a chance, in my opinion, that he could not be back next week.
Listen, anything's possible. Definitely not going to dismiss it. I think it's definitely on the table that it can happen. So what is this? You can coach well, players can play football, play hard, the team can still be bad. That's when you keep a coach. Not here. Yeah, well, we talked about it. When you see lack of effort, Jay, like I did, and I'm sure you did in the Tampa game, and the way they just look so lost on offense. And it does take a lot out of you, Chris. Like Chris mentioned about the defense, they can get just fed up and just, there's a breaking point for everybody, I guess.
And what I find it amazing, missed tackles is just, missed tackles. The effort might be there. But what I don't understand is these guys put their work on tape and they want to get other jobs. They want to stay in the league. And the fact that you don't give the effort, if that's what's happening, is mind-boggling because you're putting yourself on tape. You're not playing for the first-round draft pick quarterback. You're not playing for Dable. You're playing for your own job security in the NFL. That's what makes it crazy to not put effort in and to make the attempt at a tackle. And we saw multiple times where guys didn't really want to tackle. They didn't want to throw their body in there. They didn't want to, I don't want to point out Bobby Okereke, but the Bobby Okereke tape was ridiculous. I mean, just felt like he was running down the field waiting for somebody else to tackle the running back. So,
Yeah.
and that's what you don't want to see. You want to see
No.
guys to the ball. And I have a feeling they are going to play hard tomorrow. I believe the media scrutiny this week, they're pissed off and they're going to play hard tomorrow. I really do. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to get beat either. You know,
No,
because
it doesn't. It doesn't.
I think the human element takes over, Mike, when they go down 14, 17, nothing. I feel like they feel they don't have any chance to come back. It's not that type
Yeah.
of offense, not that type of team.
Yeah.
But,
I'm going off memory here, and you might have a better memory than me, Chris. But when they played Dallas the last time with Cooper Rush was quarterback, didn't they make him look good?
yeah, they did. Cooper Rush, they won.
Yeah,
Won. Well, obviously
Cooper
they did
Rush
win.
looked like he was a seasoned pro.
Yeah.
You know, they cannot. That defense cannot let him look like that. They gotta tuck the ears back, and they gotta be mean. They gotta be nasty when they come play tomorrow.
And what's interesting is Cooper Rush was with the Cowboys originally. Then he went to be a backup with the Giants. Giants let him go. It might have been the judge year, let him go in training camp. And then he went back to Dallas, and he's done well. So there's another mistake. Cooper Rush is a decent backup. He does a good job. He doesn't get ahead of himself, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He keeps everything, pretty tight, I think. And he just doesn't, he is what he is, but he's a serviceable backup, and he beats the Giants.
Yeah. I mean, you keep seeing this trend happening. Players who fail with New York and then go somewhere else and succeed, you got to start questioning it, especially if they're not overly young, where you say, okay, the Giants gave up on them too soon. You got to question maybe the Giants' coaching methods, coaching philosophies, if that's the case.
I was behind Bowen, but I feel like this defense, they're just playing out of sorts in what these guys play well in. I mean, they're playing a lot of zone. Banks and Flott are man-to-man guys up front, and I feel like the defense, I feel like the crew is their defensive backs are more of a man-to-man. And Jay makes a good point. Rush plays within himself, and he's right. He does. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's very serviceable.
Yep. Well, we'll find out. We already think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do anyway. I'd be surprised if the Giants score more, get double digits in points. I'd be very shocked.
Yeah. Mike, if the Giants go, let's see real quick, Jay. We can't keep Dable and hire another DC. Wanted that job. That is a good point. Who wants to play for Dable? And I could see this, Jay, and this is kind of a good segue before we close it down. I can see Mara going halfway, meaning he's not happy. He wants to make a change. Shane stays, and Dable and Bowen leave. I could see that. I could see Dable and Bowen leave, and then a new, head coach comes in, and they retool the coaching staff and whatever he needs to do. But hey, wouldn't it be interesting if a Rob Saleh or an Antonio? Well, Saleh's available, but Antonio Pierce becomes available.
Put him as your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Who will be your coach?
I don't know.
I see that on Twitter.
I'd want to see who his OC is. You got to know who's going to run the offense because he's a defensive guy. I don't want a first-time guy. I know the guy Ben Johnson, Detroit, sounds great, looks great, love it. I want a seasoned guy. There's not many out there. I'd probably lean towards a Vrabel just because of his attitude. He wants to, he's kind of a hard ass.
Kind of reminds me of Dan Campbell.
Yeah, he does. But we got to know who's going to run the offense, right? We got to know before. I'm sure they do that. They do that in interviews. They want to know. All right, so who's your staff? Do you have a staff set up yet? Who would be your coordinator? I think that's such an important, such important question. It needs to be answered.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Jay? You need a head coach that can stand up to Mara in front of us. Well, we saw Shane do that with Barkley. Mara could have thrown down the hammer and said, listen, we're keeping Barkley, make it work. And I feel like Mara did stay out of that, although Shane, he kind of played it off like, hey, he goes to the Eagles, big deal. But that's what Mara was worried about. But I feel like Mara does stay out of it, but I feel like the coaching pick, who he picks as head coaches, right, Mike? That seems to be the issue. And maybe general manager too, but it seems like the coaching choices he's been failing on.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's still out with Dable, but man, it's getting close. It's getting close
Yeah,
to the end.
he's getting closer to the edge. He is. You're right.
I almost equate it to
Well,
this,
that's
Mike.
fine.
It's like if he had 2 more games left, he could probably squeak it out and retain the job. But the fact it's 6 games left, there's so much more possibilities to get worse, and for this thing to fester and just turn into even a worse situation. That I think his race against time, it's not on his side. If he had 2 games left, he could squeak it out. 6 games left, time is not on his
Yep.
side.
A lot of bad things can happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I agree,
Yeah.
right, Jay? It's going to get ugly, man. Tomorrow could be. I think tomorrow the pendulum either swings either way. It either trends in the right direction with a win or a tough loss, or it swings the other way with an embarrassing loss on national TV on Thanksgiving.
Well, you know what? I think if it's going to do anything, if they're going to do anything positive, it's got to start on the defensive side of the ball. I think the players like Okereke you mentioned and Lawrence and Burns, they got to show the urgency. They got to show the passion. And I think if they do that, you're going to see other players kind of like follow trend, and hopefully that bleeds into the offense. You know, it's like you said, if it's not, it's going to get ugly. They got to come out with fist swinging, feet kicking, and everything.
Yeah.
They got to be ready to play.
Yeah, get a lead early, right, Mike? Get a lead, whether even it's a field goal, because that's going to at least set the defense up feeling good about themselves and wanting to play,
Keep the
better
game close.
keep the game close, but jump on a lead. Don't go down 7-0. I feel like when they go down 7-0, man, the defense is just they're checking out. They're checking out. I feel, in my opinion, that it feels like they're down by 2 scores and they're checking out.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else, Mike?
No, listen, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I know it's the Giants are playing tomorrow, but tomorrow's more than just about football. Just enjoy family, really. I'm not going to have that. I'm here away from family where I live right now, and I'm actually working tomorrow in the morning in golf, because golf never rests. Golf, unfortunately.
And Mike, Thanksgiving morning down by you on Thanksgiving's a big day, right? A lot of guys get together on that Thanksgiving morning.
I mean, we're busy tomorrow morning. I mean, only till 12. We got the tea times only till 12, but it's loaded from 7:30 to 12. Our tea times, it's loaded.
Awesome. Well, you enjoy, Mike. You enjoy, Mike. Everybody have a great. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, man. We replay the show. I thought we had a good time tonight, a good show. So thanks for checking in now. And by the way, everybody, I'm not going to give you the name, but on Monday night, a very, very special guest coming on NY Giants Rush. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be on the show, but it's an awesome show. You're going to have Spartan. You're going to have, I guess, Sean, and you're going to have Craig, maybe Alex, one of the two. But anyway, big guest. So do not miss Monday night, 7:30 start. You won't be disappointed. Big guest. I'm not sure they're going to announce it on Monday or Sunday. That's going to be up to Craig.
I don't even know who it is.
I'll tell you off air. But big,
Okay.
I'm not supposed to. But yeah, Craig's been working on this for a while and been on once before, but this is a big time guest. So yeah, check it out, Jay. Don't want to miss it. Daniel Berry, don't miss it. Tell everybody. Please click. Yeah, you got it, Jay. Guy Whimper. Yeah, he's coming on. And then we're gonna have Guy Whimper, and then what was the other lineman I always talk about? Came from Green. Gray Rugemer as well, Jay. Gray Rugemer came up from Green Bay. He'll also be on the show with Guy Whimper. But yeah, all right, guys. So that's Monday night. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for jumping in the show. Yeah, we appreciate you as always, and catch you Monday. Have a great weekend. Go Giants.
Go Giants. Be safe.